Hi, hello, I'm Drake and I'm speaking to you again today from beautiful sunny Dartmoor. And today I just wanted to finish off the conversation that I started yesterday about potatoes. And what we're doing today, or what I'm doing today, is planting the potatoes, the same ones that I planted last time, so it's cara and bambino. And I'm going to plant them in the round garden, and they're going to be planted here because this is going to be a little bit of a experiment to see how well the potatoes do in two different areas. So the area I did the other day, they're in a slightly shadier area, and today these are going in a very sunny spot. And the only difference is, and I'm just going to bring you down and around so you can see the trench there. So this trench that I've dug here, what I've done is I've added some compost to it. And the reason I've done that is because the round garden, it's in its first year, and it was just a pasture field, and the quality of the soil isn't as good actually as the soil on the woodland edge where I planted potatoes yesterday. So I thought, right, okay, I'm just going to give them a little bit of boost. I mean, if I was going to be a real scientist about this, there'd be a whole load of controls I'd be doing, and I'd be trying to make it so that actually it does make a more scientific test. But hey, this is just a let's see what happens. So they're going to be planted in the same way, so it's going to be about a hand's depth. So I'll push these slightly in a bit deeper there, and then about a foot apart. So that's about a foot apart. So I'm going to do a few lines up and down here, and that should be me good to go. Again, they'll just get covered over. What I'll do is actually I'll add a little bit more compost again, and then infill with the rest of the soil. And also what I'm probably going to do here is I'm going to be feeding them, or at least adding some seaweed extract, which will encourage the roots of the potato and all the plants that we've got here to make the most of the available nutrients. And that's mainly what I'll be doing down here. I might be adding a bit of compost here or there, but that's what's going to be going on in the round garden. So with the potatoes, the other thing that I wanted to just mention is you might want to do things like interplanting. And interplanting is quite an interesting technique because it allows you to baffle insect pests in particular, but other airborne pests and soil pests that might otherwise decimate a monocrop. So if this entire field was just potatoes, for example, then there's a high chance that they could suffer from blight or some such disease. But if they're mixed in with other plants, and this is one of the real advantages of the at-home gardener or a small holding, or even growing them in a container, is that you cut down the chances of that happening. And interplanting is a great technique also because it means that you encourage beneficial insect and wildlife into your garden. And also it's a joy as a gardener because whilst it may be great to see a monoculture, it's really quite nice seeing everything all mixed up together. And plants have this wonderful way of behaving when they're in each other's company, and which is why we have the term companion planting. And it's like a partnership really between different plants, and they both offer mutual beneficial properties really in terms of how they interact with each other. So with these guys, what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to plant some calendula, and the seedlings haven't been set yet, but that's fine. And calendula I love anyway because its petals are wonderful in food dishes. Mostly as decoration, but they are lovely to have. And of course they bring lots of beneficial insects and animals into the garden. Now the other thing I wanted to just briefly mention about companion planting is if you're putting in a crop like a root crop like potatoes, now they're obviously going to be ready for harvesting at certain times of the year, and what you're wanting to maybe try and avoid doing is digging up the roots of the companion plants to get at the harvest of the plants that you really want to get a hold of. So just have a bit of consideration about what kind of companion plants would I like to put in, what type of other associate plants might I put in? Will I be disturbing their roots when I'm harvesting one plant and not the other? So just bear all of that in mind, and it's going to be down to your own choice about what you like to do. But as I said, just have that consideration. Another plant you could put in right now actually are peas. And if you had peas running alongside these potatoes, the other advantage of having something like peas is that they're nitrogen fixers. So they're going to be actually putting nitrogen into the ground, which will be really to the benefit of these potatoes. And it's one of the reasons why I also have this round garden here on the woodland edge, because there are a number of trees around me which are nitrogen fixers. And I've planted quite a number of small leaf lime, which help really sink nitrogen into the ground. So yeah, so that's really it about potatoes today. I have been asked to discuss a little bit more about container planting, and I'm going to do that on another video on another day. But just to say, while we're talking about potatoes, they make really good plants to grow in containers. And I tend to use a container about this size. So it's about a 40 litre container. And one potato in that is enough. And again, you can companion plant that up as well. And with potatoes and anything that's a little bit greedy, which might describe most of us really, but with plants you might want to put in some very nutritious, fresh and tasty compost in the bottom of that. Don't just rely on using soil from the garden, because that can also have a lot of pests and diseases in it that you may not want to transfer. Because whilst it's lovely growing in a container, it's a closed environment in regards to at least the soil structure, and the plants that you put in there can quite easily exhaust what's available. And the other thing about containers is because they're not in the ground, it's a bit more tricky for the plants to get water. So you really need to make sure that you keep them well watered and possibly fed as well. And I'm going to do videos about making your own feed as well, and I'll be using mainly nettle and comfrey to do that, and the potatoes will love both of those things going in there. And and so really that's just about it for today, and I thank you again for your time, and I hope you have a really great day.